Hi, everyone. Hi, Simon, Gill, Erika, Adam, and Richi. We're very happy to have this dialogue with you to talk about this wonderful project, Inscription. And I want to also say hi to everyone who will be watching this video in a few days when we put it on YouTube. This is one of the dialogues that we've been conducting these days related to our books festival about paratexts organized by la Oficina de la Nada and Campus Creativo from Universidad Andrés Bello. This is our most international activities. The others have been in Spanish. We will try to make it work in English today. And if I make too much mistakes, Ricardo will correct me, I think. And before we start with Simon's presentation, I just wanted to say in public that I'm very happy and very proud to be part of this project, Inscription. I was very happy when I was invited by Simon. Until now, I haven't done anything for the journal, so this is my first time that I'm trying to do something and to put it. And try to collaborate, getting this project to be known in different countries. I also want to make a gift for the journal. The gift is a blurb or a quote that you can use whenever you want. And it was what happened to me when I first received this journal. When I first this big magazine, the first thing I thought is this is more than a journal. So the gift I want to give to you is a blurb inspired by the Bee Gees. Inscription for me is more than a journal to me. I hope that you can use it whenever you like, because it deeply signifies what this journal is to me. So Simon, welcome and thanks very much to be with us today.
Thank you very much, Felipe. I'll just share my screen now and put on the presentation. Can everyone see that okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, great. I just thought it would be useful. I'm going to start my timer here because I promised Felipe I will not be longer than 10 minutes. Okay, so my timer's going now. I just thought it'd be useful for your audience maybe to see a few pictures of the journal so they kind of know the kind of content we're working with. So this is it. It's Inscription, the Journal of Material Text, Theory, Practice, History. This is our first editor. This is Dr. Gill Partington. She works at the Institute of English Studies at the University of London and also Exeter University. And she's the co-author with Adam Smythe of Book Destruction from the Medieval to the Contemporary. If you haven't got that book, get it. It's fantastic. It's a really great read. As well as this, Gill does a lot of work.
I just ordered today, so I hope to have your book, Gill and Adam, soon. By the way, Simon, maybe you can take the photos that are...
Yeah, you can downsize the window with our faces. Maybe.
Okay. How do I do that?
That little icon, yeah, that one.
That's it, it's gone? Okay, there we go. Okay, thank you. Yeah, also to say that Gill also is a regular reviewer for the Times Literary Supplement and London Review of Books. So she is completely brilliant. And we've got the next slide here. This is our second editor, Adam Smythe. He's Professor of English Literature and History of the Book at Balliol College, Oxford University. And Felipe was mentioning this book earlier, Book Parts, which he's co-authored with Dennis Duncan from UCL. It's a fantastic book which goes through every kind of part of the book, which I guess is very relevant to our discussion today. So there's like things like a whole chapter on the epigraph. There's a whole chapter on, the fly page and things like that. Adam's an exceptional scholar, and he prints a new book every 30 seconds. So just watch, because there's always stuff out there. I'm the third editor of the Inscription team. I'm a professor of art at Leeds Beckett University, and I'm the founding editor of a publishing imprint called Information as Material. We publish extant material, people reframing stuff that's already out there in the world, and by doing so, creating new meanings. As you can see from there, we've made about over 60 publications so far and a few DVDs. This is our artist in residence, Erica Baum from New York City. She's an international artist, got a massive reputation. She's represented by Bureau New York City. She shows all over the world. And we have a real problem with Erica because she's so talented and so brilliant that we've made an unwritten rule that she has to be in every issue of Inscription. So she's in issue 1, she's in issue 2, and yes, she's in issue 3. What we're trying to do with Inscription, the Journal of Material Text, Theory, Practice, History, is a cross-platform work. So we're trying to do 3 things at once. The first 2 have been done quite a lot before. So a serious academic journal, critically investigating the materiality of text, an exhibition space for multimedia works, vinyl records, AR, digital works, artworks, prints, poems, etc. But the third one, I think, is maybe a bit of a unique factor, is each journal has to operate as an artist's book in its own right, which is not that easy to do. So it's a means of conveying art ideas from the artist to the viewer. So some sort of form has to kind of go right through the entire journal. So precedents we're looking at, we have a lot of precedents that we're drawing on from across history. Fluxus 1, you'll know, that's a fantastic box edition, which even included a steel mirror, a stocking, a latex glove, and an 8-piece jigsaw puzzle. Everything you need for your train trip, Adam. Okay, Artists and Photographs. This was published by Multiples Incorporated. An amazing edition. If you just look at the list of artists that, I mean, if you've got a set of this at home, that's going to be worth quite something. I mean, it's an incredible thing. You've got artworks by Robert Rauschenberg, Bruce Nauman. I mean, the list goes on and on. Joseph Kossuth, Sol LeWitt. It is wonderful. Jan Dibbits. Oh, yeah, it's a dream edition. Studio International. I have got a copy of this. It smells great, I have to tell you. It smells really good because it's from the 70s. So this is July, August 1970, as my big fat finger is pointing at it. And they decided for this issue of the journal to turn it over to an exhibition space. And they got a number of really celebrated curators at the time who chose a number of artists to make artworks for the edition. And the one that's just amazing in there is there's 8 full pages by Daniel Beren, very, very lemony yellow popping out. It's beautiful, beautiful piece. Aspen magazine, I think, is one of the key references for us at Inscription. And Adam is slowly collecting the set. I think he's got 2 or 3 now out of the 10 issues that were made. This was an incredible series of journals that were put together by Phyllis Johnson. And as you can see again, from the people included, I mean, it was the first time Roland Barthes' famous author, the famous essay, The Death of the Author, had been published in English. Had worked from Susan Sontag, John Cage, you name it, Andy Warhol, John Lennon, Marshall McLuhan, absolutely incredible. And those are the 10 editions. If you see any of those, grab them. If they're in a secondhand shop and a bargain, you really have got onto something. Parquet is also amazing. They did 101 editions over 33 years. I'm not sure I'm going to make 101 editions of Inscription, but they did some artist editions which were beautiful, and one that actually, I still cry about to this day because it was £150 for Sophie Cowell's tie in Paris, and I didn't buy it, and I regret that very much. So they did some nice art editions. Convolution is another journal in New York City, which is brilliant, by the brilliant Paul Stevens, and he's a personal friend of the poet Robert Grenier, and he actually re-released Cambridge My Ass from 1979, this massive print. I've got one in my house from his re-edition, but a great thing to put out there into the world again. So those are kind of influencing us, and there we go on to Beginnings, which is our first one. The cover, of course, was the amazing Erica Baum, Hypnotized, 2008, from her Naked Eye series. It just felt like the cover was exploding outwards towards the reader, and it really takes on the materiality of text. We are a do publication, so it's back to back. So it's a 2-sided publication. It starts at both ends and then meets in the middle. And so that's how it looks from both covers. The first one, the artist's idea was to have a descent into the maelstrom, drawing on Edgar Allan Poe's famous text where some fishermen got trapped in this whirlpool. And so we wanted the entire journal to spin, so all the text in it spun. We're so interested in spinning, we chose the gidoil or the oribus on Per Ubu's belly, that spiral to influence because it always says you're left with totally unsatisfied, always wanting more. And that's what we want our readers to want. Always want more, always to be hungry for the next edition. Benekin is a French artist. You won't believe this, but he rubbed out Marcel Proust in Search of Lost Time, the ink copy, for 10 years, a page a day. And he made huge heaps of rubber dust, as you can imagine. Fantastic artist in France. Here he is looking wistfully at his rubber pile. There I am. What I've done is I've actually asked Jeremy to rub out a maelstrom into Edgar Allan Poe's text. It's in English on one side, and it's in French, translated by none other than Charles Baudelaire on the reverse side. And that's what it looks like in close-up. So this is the kind of idea, you get the spinning paper. So as a reader, it's a bit like driving a car. You have to kind of turn this massive leviathan of a journal in your hands. We have an LP with every issue. This was our first one, Sean Ashton, Living in a Land. And as you can see, there's a hole right through the cover as well. So some of the ideas we have in the journal link through to the second issue. So the first issue was on beginnings, the second issue was holes. So these holes are quite important to us. This was a poem by Craig Dworkin, a fantastic poem in there. And we also have AR works, or augmented reality works. So Craig Saper and Ian Truelove worked on this one. And if you pointed your phone at the cover of Inscription, you've got this kind of orange, like, you know, when you peel an orange of text, kind of spiraling around, hovering in a liminal world somewhere. So there you go. So if you ordered the first edition, you've got the journal, you've got the massive poster, you've got the LP vinyl, and you've got the poem. We kind of went crazy on issue 2 and got more out of control. We had a Holes. Holes is the issue for issue 2. This is one from Yoko Ono. This is Dieter Roth replying to Yoko Ono's Hole. Next is Kendall Gears. We got in touch with because he'd shot through lots of books. He's a very famous artist who's an anti-apartheid activist. And he made this book called Point Blank, an edition of 1030, where he shot through every volume at least 7 times each. And we were very interested in this work he'd done, this action. So here's Kendall, and we used his entrance and exit wounds. The shtick, the artist's shtick for issue 2 was to take all these famous journals from the past that we really loved and take their typography and rip it off. So this example here is from Studio International from 1969. It's a very famous artist called Lillian Lin, and that's her article. And as you can see, Kendall Gears, we did an interview with him, the editorial team did an interview with him, and it's laid out in exactly the same manner, the same spaces, the same image, the same typeface, etc. So it was a complete mashup of typographies. Demarcating sections, in issue 1, we used the spiral on Pierre Ubu's belly. In issue 2, we used the entrance and exit wounds. For issue 2, our cover artist was Fiona Banner. She made these 1.5-ton full stops. She was complaining about industrial fishing processes that were damaging the environment. So here she's dragging one in front of DEFRA, which is the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. And she was saying, stop, you have to stop these industrial fishing processes. And then she took the actual full stops out to sea to a place called Doggerbank off the UK coast, and she dumped them in the ocean. So if people do carry on the illegal practice of industrial fishing, they will catch their nets on these 1.5-ton sculptures. So that made the cover for Inscription 2. We had fantastic artwork from Caroline Thompson. That was actually the size of 16 LP covers. So you get a whopping great print for your money. And then, of course, Erica Baum. Here she is again in issue 2, and she was doing piano rolls. And it's a beautiful work where she's perforated, taking photographs of piano rolls that, you know, you can play on pianos. Really wonderful work. And it's actually a nice folded out, again, hinting to the issue 3 topic, which is folds. And then we've got Christian Bock did an album on black holes. Called Supermassive. I didn't even know that word existed before. And we had Dinah Frid and Carla Nappi looking at wormholes. And Harold Offe was looking at the mouth as a kind of ambivalent site of meaning, as a hole, the orifice in your face. And he does lots of covers ripping off or riffing off other artists, black album artists from the 70s and 80s. So here he is copying Grace Jones' piece. Here he is holding a smile for the entire duration, 2 minutes, 56 seconds of the song Smile, which was composed by Charlie Chaplin, no less. And for us, he made this where he filled his mouth, crystal mouse with fool's gold, pyrite, rose quartz, white crystal, and amethyst. Brilliant fold-out work again, a lovely piece for the collector. Miranda July is a great artist who did some really kind of brilliantly irreverent sculptures for the Venice Biennale. And we really like these because it's a bit like Marcel Duchamp's Étampes données, putting your arms and legs through the holes. And she allowed us to include a few of these. And we actually turned this one into a bookmark. And here are some of our readers reading, because they like to respond when they receive the journal and send us images of them with the journal. The colour font, again, we're playing around with that. So the first issue, we had the spiral of Pierre Aubry's belly. The second issue went for squares, Jan Dibbett's perspective correction, and riffing off Joanna Drucker's diagrammatic writing on the right. Here's some end papers. So again, we're playing with Kendall Gears, shooting again. I think he was shooting Marcel Duchamp's large glass in that case. Gill and Adam write brilliant introductions to the journal. They're absolutely amazing. And Gill also had the brilliant idea of turning it into computer punch tape. Because the journal starts from both ends, you've got text and you've got computer punch code, if you've got a machine, I guess, that can read it. Readers, again, send us how they receive the work. I'm afraid you don't get the cat included. We also have now extended our thing to doing exhibitions. So we have exhibitions in London, where we collected lots of books with holes in. We're using the end papers as wallpaper. We made a film about books with holes in. So a lot of work going on. And the third edition folds very, very quickly. Kim Suja is our cover artist. She's made this beautiful, beautiful cover for us. We've gone crazy for issue 3, and we're having an unfolding cover. It's a Japanese 4-fold thing where you actually can unfold the size of 4 record covers every single page. I really have lost my mind because this is quite mad to do this. We've also been going out to outreach workshops, teaching primary school kids how to make their own folding pottery bookmaking project. Nikos has done this fantastic record where he's actually recorded the sound of origami folding the rows. We've got the letter locking team who they'll actually give you a piece. You can actually perform a 15th century letter locking puzzle yourself. And again, Erica Baum, our favorite artist, she's got this brilliant piece. I said to Erica, surely you can think of something for folds. And of course, a fabulous piece from her dog ear series. Abigail Reynolds, piece here, beautiful. We're going to show this time at Tate Britain, launching in November this year. Also, simultaneously, we've just gone crazy again in Chelsea College of Arts at the same time, and also at Shandy Hall, which is, of course, the home of experimental literature. So thinking about your book festival and your topic, paratext for what? I thought in traditional books, the paratextual material, the title, the dust jacket, the blurbs, the editor's introduction, they kind of work in a centripetal manner. They move towards the center, the main narrative, reinforcing the content within the book. And I guess in our journal, when I think about paratextual material, they work in the opposite way, in a centrifugal manner. They move away from the center, exploding material outwards, artworks, exhibitions, films, unfolding pages, unfolding posters, outreach workshops, etc. Over to you. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Simon. How much was the time?
I'm really embarrassed. It's 15. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you talk too slow. That's a deception. Oh, thank you so much, Simon. Yeah, it was great to begin with showing this this whole project, and especially the images and the material qualities of this publication, which is so different from what is supposed to be an academic journal, for example, and I want to talk a little about that. Also, I want to say for people that are watching us that all this material is included in a digital version. I'm not sure everything, but at least the articles and
yes, everything is there, Smythe files, everything, and it's all free.
Right. Exactly, and I wanted to point that all of this is available at inscriptionjournal.com. So everyone that hasn't the possibility to get to grab one of these issues can check it online. Before we talk more about paratext, which has been like the obsession in lots of the material that you've been gathering for 2 and this third issue, I wanted to start with a more contextual reflection that has to do with the idea of scholar publishing and scholar research, and the research that you should you should be supposed to do at universities, right? In Chile and in a lot of different countries, there's a lot of discussions about, for example, the paper as the only way to show your work. There are a lot of discussion in different countries, and also who even reads that kind of papers. And also, and that is why I wanted to point out the website. Lots of these articles and papers are published in websites that are not available that for everyone. That you have to pay like $20 or $30 to just get a PDF of a paper. So I think there's a whole crisis in this idea of academic production, and at least as I said, in our context. So I wanted to know how this kind of reflection of making research and very high quality academic research. I mean, you read the essays and they are really profound and deep and rigorous. So this idea of making this kind of research, and also, as you said, like making a curatorial project, like every issue is an exhibition in itself, and also outside itself. And also this idea of quoting Annette as publishing as an artistic practice also. So this idea of considering the whole material book as an artistic practice. How have you dealt with that? How has been the reception at your institutions, for example? I mean, I don't know if this is the kind of stuff that gives you point to the rankings and all that shit. So how do you think about it in this context? I don't know if Gill or Adam or you, Simon. Yeah.
Well, I might abruptly disappear. I'm watching my battery countdown, but in response to that, what I think was interesting when we started this journal is that Adam and I wanted to start an academic journal. I mean, we had no idea that it would turn out how it was. I mean, this is beyond our wildest dreams, but it was impossible for us to start a conventional academic journal because the kind of market is so profit driven, and the publishers are so kind of resistant to start to throwing money at anything interesting or new, and so completely conservative that we kind of ran into boundaries. We ran into obstacles straight away. And the only way, like the only person who was receptive to the idea was Simon, who immediately said, yes, let's do an incredible hybrid journal, and let's make this as exciting as possible. So it wasn't that we had a choice between a conventional academic journal and this amazing kind of interesting hybrid thing, but what we've ended up with is something which maybe academic publishing didn't know that it needed, but it really did need it. It does need something interesting like this. And I think scholars are quite keen to publish in it because it's the only place that you can publish something interesting, something kind of a bit unusual in its format, and something which has illustrations. Like if you publish, you can publish something in a journal, and they'll make you pay for your, in a conventional academic journal, they will make you pay for your own illustration.
Either the author pays or the reader has to pay, but but
exactly. So so I think that actually it is working quite well. I mean, we're occupying a sort of unusual space in the academic world, but we are kind of there. We are very visible, I think, to people, to scholars of the material text.
Mm.
And we had quite big names. Sorry,
yeah.
carry on.
No, I imagine that you have had before the frustrating experience to oh, Jill just disappeared. Well, but maybe I can continue with you, Simon, and then Jill and Adam will join again. But maybe you have had this very frustrating experience to want to publish something different or not as typical in either way. I mean, like in the writing or in the images or the structure or whatever. And for me, this is a very special place to have this opportunity, because like academic writing is so homogeneous in every way. In the text and the structure, you have like these very boring websites that you have to put a PDF that was considered like to be published in those old journals that nobody read. I mean, who reads that kind of stuff? So I think that is very important. I don't know, Adam, if you want to add something in relation to this academic context where this.
Yeah. So, can you hear me okay, Felipe?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's really interesting what you say. I think in the UK there are very similar frustrations with academic publishing, and also a real lively interest in thinking about creative critical overlaps, new ways of doing academic writing, new material forms it can take, more speculative, imaginative ways that we can develop these critical voices. So we're definitely seeing a lot of that going on at the moment. You raised an interesting question about the reception of this journal in the academic world, whether it gets you prestige, whether it gets you brownie points, how academics respond. And that's really interesting. I think there's some uncertainty about how it sits in relation to the institution. And you see that in an interestingly practical way in terms of the libraries, how a library accommodates this journal, because it's a very large thing, the size of an LP. It's full of these inserts and these weird Simon Morris initiatives where you have posters and extras, tracking.
I don't know if it's your connection, Adam, or
they don't, or buy it, or don't, or place it on a shelf, or don't, or separate it out into its component parts. And I think we like. Can you hear me now?
Sorry, we didn't get the last part.
I think we like the idea of it as a bit of a tricky proposition for universities and for libraries, whether they subscribe, whether they catalogue it, where they place it, what kind of things readers do with it. And it's been fun tracking its arrival in old traditional libraries and how it fits or how it doesn't fit. And that's one function that the Inscription has, I think, as a kind of problem, a good problem to present readers and catalogers and users, and to make reading a bit of a tricky thing again. Yeah,
I was thinking about the classification. This is not the kind of journal that when you receive it, you put it in your office. This journal, you take it to your house. I mean, that's the biggest difference. I mean, you want to have it near. And also, I had another question, and maybe Erika, you can also join, about this international scope of the journal. I mean, of course, most of the people that are invited are more in the English or European or North American context, of course, but you are talking about things that can be discussed in very different contexts, even in Chile. So I wanted to ask you about this international network that you're trying to produce. And also, I was thinking when Simon talked about the precedents of this journal, about a lot of projects in the 70s and the 80s related to post art, for example, that you had collaborations from people all over the world. In fact, Guillermo Daisler, this Chilean poet that I was talking about before, he had a wonderful journal called Universe, he ran it for like 10 years, and it was a journal, a magazine produced with collaborations from people all over the world. Everyone sent like 100 copies of the same work, and then they made the issues with one copy of each. So it's like very collaborative project. So I wanted to, if you can add something about this, because that's something I like very much, when you focus on very specific issues related to the books, like holes, like folding. It's very universal at the same time. I mean, everyone has had the experience to fold a paper. I mean, it's of course a cultural activity. It has different meanings in different contexts, but it's very open to everyone.
Well, I think that the contradiction between the way in which we can virtually be all over the world at the same time, and then, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then at the same time, we're focusing on materiality and specifics is kind of a nice tension. And that's kind of what we're exploiting. We have the way in which we can have access to communicating and sharing instantly. And yet we're also honing in on the ways in which in our specific domains we experience the physical world. So those things are available to us in a way that they weren't before. So there's a sort of quality that we're trying to push back against, which is the generic aspect of the virtual way we share a world by focusing on that, going back into our personal experiences of tactility and thinking of future issues. But
and Erika, can you talk us a little more about this very tricky invitation? I mean, you were supposed to collaborate in one issue and you're collaborating in each one.
Well, I love it because I feel as though I dwell in this universe anyway. I mean, my work has sort of evolved out of recognizing language in different spheres and continuing to explore. So everything you said to describe your festival over the years and everything that Inscription is doing, that's my universe. So it feels like a comfortable place for me to be, as uncomfortable as we try to make it, it's comfortable for me.
Yeah, great. Richi?
Well, I wanted to add, and maybe this is a non-literary scholar perspective. I'm overwhelmed, and it's very inspiring to see something that spins out of the academic world and goes into a more curatorial aspect, or maybe as an art practice. I've been trying to do that a lot, trying to brush off the academic knowledge of my formation as a composer and just doing some more of this speculative art, and just opening up to a more less square and academic world. The whole publication reminded me of a Seinfeld episode in which Kramer, one of the characters, has this coffee table book about coffee tables that turns itself into a coffee table. It reminded me of that one. And hopefully I can get my hand on one of your copies. I will do. I will check them after we finish this. But I gotta say that I gotta say that it resonates. It resonates really far from your world. It resonates profoundly in me, and it gets me really, really curious, and even wanted me to just play with these knobs out of what I saw, in this publication. So congratulations.
And I also wanted to know about this this idea of including also these sound pieces in different kind of files, like the recordings and all that. I had the memory of this wonderful sound poetry journal directed by Henri Chopin. I think it was the name. I have the edition of that. And there's also like a small tradition of sound magazines or sound journals. I mean, today we're full of podcasts, but there's also this previous chapter on that story. So I wanted to know if, like, from the beginning you were thinking also in including records and sound materials, and how is this expansion going?
Gill, do you want to go for that?
Well, I mean, I guess the idea of it being multimedia is something we're really interested, that we were interested in from the start. But in the sense that I mean, a lot of people who have bought the journal then say, oh, what a wonderful journal, but of course I can't play the record because I don't have a record player, which was exactly what you, Felipe, said at the start. And I
have to go to Ricardo's house to hear it.
but I think that's that sounds like a drawback, but I don't think it is, because one of the things that we want to do is not make it too easy. We want the medium to put up a fight, you know, to put up some resistance. So you think about what it is that you're doing, not just as, you know, like, what do I do with this, you know, this record, but also like, what do I do with this journal? And like, how do I read it? You know, it doesn't kind of, it's not a nice, neat thing that you can put in your pocket. It's an awkward size also, and then you open it and all these things drop out.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of, it's quite disparate, you know, in the sense that it's sort of, you know, you lose bits of it, it's sort of like bits fall out and go all over the place. But I think as well as it being multimedia, what appeals to me, or what I think is the most interesting thing about it, is the way that it sort of short circuits between media. So in issue 1, the journal itself had a hole in it and you had to rotate it so it sort of behaved like a record. Yeah. But it also came with a little booklet, pull-out booklet, 7-inch pull-out booklet by Craig Dworkin, which is sort of packaged like a 7-inch record. Yeah, but you can put that on your turntable, as I have done, and like turn it on, and like you can't get any noise out of it. But it's like the nice thing about it is the way that various bits of it are pretending to be, or playing at being, other kinds of medium. It's like the journal itself is kind of experimenting with its own possibilities.
Yeah, and maybe related to that, you can get at least a superficial idea, but that the book is, I mean, the journal is more focused in like old school books, and there are also some researches about like antique books and all that. And how do you deal with that? I mean, it sounds like an old idea, but very much from the 2000s. But this idea of the book is going to die and it will be replaced by only digital books. I mean, I love when somebody talks about the death of something, because it never dies. I mean, the death of the novel, the death of the author, the death of the books. I mean, we keep with that at least for a while. So, but and at the same time, you have this website and you have everything. I mean, you are also using the possibilities of the digital technologies to spread it in a really generous way. So, but is there also some kind of resistance in that way? I mean, to put again, like the idea of the books, the material books, but also, I wanted to add, not so romantic. I mean, this is not a journal about book lovers and people reading books in parks and, oh, this is beautiful. I mean, you talk about destroyed books. I mean, I like very much that combination of, I mean, there's kind of resistance and even in a way a political resistance, but not so this romanticization of the books. I don't know if you agree, but.
This kind of question and this discussion comes up a lot for me with my dog ear series, because when I first started it, first of all, I'm doing something which some people find disturbing, which is turning the page on the book. And I've always done that with paperbacks and with my own, not library books. But so for me, it was sort of a reminder that not everyone does that and that it could be disturbing to people. But then at the same time, when I started doing this project in, I think, 2008, approximately, at that time, that whole conversation about the death of books started to arise. And in the interim, I've seen such a shift, because initially I thought, oh, wow, these books I thought would be around forever, they're not turning up. There's not even any used bookstores. New York's, they're disappearing. But then since then, in the interim, there's been a kind of renaissance of mortar and brick bookstores and people interested in the books. At the same time, I share my work digitally as well as exhibit in person. So I kind of make use of the different things that are, avail myself of those different possibilities. And then one last thing to say is that in the past year, I've done much more in-person studio visiting with students. And I've been interested to see that a lot of students are interested in analog photography. So it's surprising to me in a way, because I expected, again, when I learned photography, I learned with ultra analog, dark rooms, everything. And then it felt as though I'd learned a skill that was obsolete. Sounds like now the students want to learn those skills. So it's an interesting thing. It's sort of, I think that we're in a good place in a sense, because we have more choices for tools.
And maybe we're getting into kind of an equilibrium. I don't know, an equilibrium maybe, but I mean, it's not one or another. I mean, it's more me, and I like very much, such in your case, this possibility of make the two possibilities available. I mean, there's no problem with that.
There's really three, because there's the book in its actual form, and then there's the exhibitions, and then there's looking at the virtual. And actually there's four, because I'll also do readings, so there's sound too.
Exactly.
Like Inscription, it's everything.
Well, I think that we're in a moment that we're so digitally saturated, and everything is digital, everything is PDF, and everything is looking at a screen. So these kinds of publications that are physical, that are material, I think they're a desperate way, a desperate response for these overwhelming zeros and ones. And I think it all gears towards analog photography, towards the materiality of the vinyl, towards, a physical thing that you can actually manipulate. So now I think it makes sense. It's a part of the what's happening, the back towards the material, back towards the physicality of things. We're fed up with a little fed up with the digital, so.
And also related to sound, for example, I mean, we were like trying to avoid what Gill said a little before. I mean, this resistance of the materials in any way, and this opacity of the materials. I mean, all those colors that are put by the material itself. And in music, you talk a lot about how do you say this saturación armónica?
Harmonic saturation. I
mean, when you record something in tape, it adds a color. I mean, it's not transparent like the digital recording. And in a lot of years, like everyone was trying to avoid that color, that specificity of the material, and now we're trying to get it back. I mean, Ricardo has showed me like some digital plugins that imitate the sound and the hiss of the tape. It's very absurd. I mean, it's like trying to replicate digitally the specificities of an analog material. But I like that very much. I mean, it's like trying to not work in a transparent or clean way with the materials, but to include them in all its characteristics. So I think it's wonderful. And also, I wanted to know, going more specifically about the editorial decisions of these themes that you are proposing for each number, for each issue. How do you decide it? And are you, for example, wanting to insist in like very specific gestures to provoke everyone to participate, or maybe thinking of another ways to put it all together? How are those conversations going on?
I don't know. It's quite spontaneous, I think.
Really?
I don't think we really had a trajectory in mind. But one thing that has happened is that something about for issue 1, like the whole, suggested issue 2. So that there's a kind of it's a sort of nice relay that we've set in motion, but I don't know where it's going. I don't think there's a sort of endpoint.
Yeah, there's the guy at the Tate. He actually showed me a book by Giorgio Macianas, and he said he thought we were actually choosing the themes from this book, because his book has a torn page, it has a hole, it has a stapled page, it has a crumpled page, it has a folded page. So he thought we were actually literally riffing off these. But I said, oh no, I don't think that's intentional at all.
Yeah, but that book, in fact, is like an inventory of different kinds of interventions. Yeah. And going more deeply in what we're talking about paratexts, there's also this. We have talked maybe more about the material conditions of the journal itself, but I wanted to talk a little more about the academic research that is also included in. And I wanted to know if, like, all those years in your own specific projects, as we saw at the beginning, but also in this journal, how can you describe like this maybe network of people in different countries trying to investigate the material conditions of the books, the paratexts and all that? I mean, do you see if there's a shift in the last years, like there's more interested, related maybe to some, I don't know, the same as we talk about the death of the novel and the death of the author and all that. Every year we have to hear about the material turn, the whatever turn, the whatever turn. Well, maybe this is part of this whole material turn in critical theory, of course. But I don't know, how's your vision about if this is evolving? And also, I don't know what was your experience, for example, Gill or in Adam's case, but I studied literature, and I never had a class about graphic design. I mean, no one teach me anything about typography. I mean, not the least. And we're studying books for years, and we don't know even how to call the parts of the book. So, quoting the book by Adam. So, how do you see this? And I mean, maybe in the students are getting more interested in this. How do you see all of this?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's impossible to talk about the context, the academic context, for Inscription without talking about the material turn. But I think, I mean, that's become a cliche now, but I think that it's kind of, what's in what we're doing that's interesting isn't sort of jumping on an academic bandwagon or fitting into an existing academic niche, but doing things that academically people don't normally do, which is like you've got someone like an article about Kafka next to an article about the medieval book, or and so there's a lot of kind of those kind of periodized kind of silos that academic research normally consists of, the things that we're trying to sort of think across. But I mean, my training is as a scholar of literature, and I mean in a similar way to the experience you were talking about, everything that I was most interested in were the things that I wasn't supposed to talk about, or things that you're not supposed to notice. You're not supposed to notice the cover. You're not supposed to notice how much it weighs or what it smells like. And I was always really interested in why you're not supposed to talk about those things. And then, I spent like years and years sort of being a lecturer in literary departments, feeling slightly frustrated, and then this new context kind of presented itself, where I suddenly realized that I could do the kind of research that I wanted to do. So I think that there's definitely Inscription is responding to or feeding into some new things that are happening in academia, but I don't think we sort of thought about it that way. I don't think we kind of calculated it. I think it's kind of been a happy meeting of circumstances.
That's what you wanted to do, just like that.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, I studied anthropology as an undergraduate, and I was always interested in, anthropology, I loved reading ethnographies, but they exist in this kind of fictional world because you're not acknowledging context at all, and it's timeless. And so it's synchronous, asynchronous, it's asynchronous. So basically the ahistorical lack of context, all that sort of thing was what started to interest me. And it was sort of, like the external things that were being ignored. You had to sort of really have blinders on. And it's interesting whenever you realize what really interests you are these sort of paratext type aspects of something. You can decenter it and flip it around. And I think the world has evolved since I've studied anthropology. So I think that that's no longer so much the case. I think it may even be really not the case at all. But that sort of static quality that at the time sort of prompted me to want to push to the outside of that. It reminds me of the same kind of questions with literature, just the way where you willfully would be ignoring what's right there. So.
Exactly. And what I like most is like, when you get even a little involved in this kind of thinking, there's no way back. When you're interested in politics or in holes or all that, you can't read again a book just like you read it before. You start relating with it in a different way. And there's also something that I like very much. Maybe in your context it's the same, like at the universities, everyone is talking, we should do interdisciplinary studies and transdisciplinary studies and all that. There's a lot of discourse, but first of all, it's difficult to do it. It's not so easy to put people together from different disciplines and all that. And sometimes you see people like inventing like very complex ways of relating different disciplines. And at least in our case, our experience from 5-6 years making these activities related to the book is, a book is an interdisciplinary object. It can be seen from literature, from graphic design, from publication, from bibliotechology, from art. It's already there. So it's a very good place to start. If you want to think in that in that way. It's not that difficult. So that's something I like very much. Well, I don't know if you want to talk a little more about the projections of this project. The number 3 is about to come right now. How is it going?
Simon, what's happening?
Yeah, well, I could tell you one funny story about number 3, which I think Ricardo will like, is that we're trying to make the record based on making an origami rose. But Nikos is a very famous experimental musician, so he had this idea that he'd wanted to fold the sound on top of itself every time you made a fold in the process of making the rose. Adam got some nice descriptions from historical sources about a paper dart being made and how you would make it, and also a salt cellar, and also a paper boat. And so he did some readings of that as well. But then we sent it off to the digital mastering services, and the sound engineer went crazy. He said that the range is completely off the charts. He said, you're going to actually break, you're going to break our machine. And he just said to me, you do realize, we make records for musicians who want to make music. And so he had to send it back, and we had to have it remastered. But I like the idea that this record was going to break the machine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I can tell from a technical perspective that it's very easy from a conceptual point of view to actually go beyond the frequency range of an actual machine. So what will have happen is that you put the vinyl, and the needle will spin out. Will just jump out.
Yeah, I was remembering there was this a record with contemporary pieces for recorder by Japanese composers, and one of those pieces had very, very low volume, like pianissimo, but very, very little, and then a fortissimo, a very high contrast. So there was this indication in the record to say that don't put too low, too high when the part is low, so it will explode. So
yeah,
it has to do with what we were talking about, the resistance of the materials. I mean, Ricardo knows a lot about that, the compression and all that, because all these technologies has their own limits. And
I mean, digitally you can do whatever, and the computer is zeros and ones. It doesn't have a physicality, but when you translate that into physical, such as this example of the vinyl pressing, sometimes it's impossible to actually replicate. It reminded me, the music of this book festival that we're doing. The music is actually made out of scraping and folding paper, but actually, when you fold something, it creates tiny crackles that looked through a zoom. It's actually rhythm. So those rhythms are replicated into a machine that translate those onto notes. So the same sounds are played back in a rhythmic pattern generated by the actual compressing of the paper. So it was a fun experiment as well. And it reminded me
the video when we finish, because it's beautiful. Yeah. And I was remembering also in some kind of synthesizers and additive synthesizers, you talk about wave folding, and it's a kind of maybe you can describe it, but it's great to think also that sound can be folded.
Yeah, I mean, when you spoke about folding the sound, I mean, it's not that it doesn't appear to me at once. I've thought about wave folding, which is actually folding a wave, and the sound turns with more harmonics, or maybe just the folding involves a juxtaposition of the two surfaces. You can do that, as we did in the 1,000 poems at once. Remember our projects? Well, so it's like folding the book, 1,000 fold, and just playing back the 1,000 poems at once. And it can be done in several ways. As the same as you say folding in sound, it opens up like a a lot of ideas, such as, you know, doing a publication when you say holes in it, it opens up like a lot of, so yeah, it works as well.
It's great. Like, I mean, that's what I like this approach from very tiny and simple gestures, but it's as always, you start to think and it goes expanding and expanding. I mean, I don't know, the difference between issue 1 and 2, it's huge. I can't imagine issue number 3. It will be even bigger.
And I think the difference between the book festival and, for example, this publication is that in the book festival, it revolves around a concept, but it's us that, you know, that select some works. And in your case, it's open. You make an open calling for papers and articles and such. So that's I think it's more a speculative way of doing it. So it's open to maybe more surprises, and maybe some of the material that comes in is really bonkers, you know.
Yeah. I suppose. Maybe you could make an issue with all the submissions that were rejected. That would be maybe an issue about censorship or rejection.
Rejection.
Yeah, rejections.
Yes.
Well, I think we are okay with the time. I don't know if you want to add anything, Simon, Erika, Gill.
I disappeared for a bit, but did anybody mention cheese while I was away?
No one has talked about cheese, Jill. You must talk about the cheese.
Yeah.
I just think that my favorite bit of paratext in Inscription is the cheese. I just think that we were sort of pushing the envelope on what a paratext could be. And so,
the wormholes,
it's in the sort of background to a lot of issue 2 is I can't even remember which kind of cheese it is. Swiss cheese with
Emmental.
Or Gruyere, or all that.
Yeah. But the idea that cheese can be a paratext is just something I want to put out there. I don't want this seminar to end without saying that.
Yeah, no, it's great. You know, in the exhibition that we're doing at the Museo de Artes Decorativas, with the books, the old books that we're including in the exhibition, we're exposing some destroyed books by the termites, and one of them is full of what the people there told us that the technical term is galleries, and you talk about galleries like in a mine, like when you're going. So we put together that book with a part of a short story by the Juan Emar, who talks about a book being eaten by termites. So it's great that we end up talking about cheese. It's very pertinent. And what we like very much was this idea that the termites were reading the book in their own way. I mean, they were making choices. We don't know the logic of the choices, but it's great to think about the termites reading the book. Well, Erika, Simon, I don't know if you want to add something.
I'll just say thank you. I love this discussion so much, and really value this kind of international partnership collaboration that we have. So
yeah, we have to keep on going. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting us. It's great to be a part of your 5th book festival, and we're really delighted to be here, and we want to come and visit you in person again, because I think the analog experiences are
like
really
so much. Yeah. We had a great time last when you came up. Simon visited Chile when we were just in the middle of the revolution. I mean,
wow.
Crazy those days of protest. We went to the protest together. We had a lot of fun. So things are a little quieter now, but we can have a new revolution when all of you want to come.
We may have to immigrate there, depending on.
Yeah,
go over here.
I know. I know. Well, thanks very much, dear friends, Simon, Erica, Gill, and also Adam and Ricardo, of course. Well, I hope we can talk again when the new issue of Inscription goes everywhere published. And again, a lots of congratulations for this wonderful work you're doing. We really admire what you're doing, and thanks very much for sharing it with all of us.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Well, thanks again, and maybe I will have to travel to England. I'll let you know, because I'm participating in a research project. I don't know if we want something, I will have to go to Wales. So if it happens, of course, I'll let you know. I would love to see you again, Simon, and to meet you in person, Gill, and also Adam. It would be great. So I'll let you know.
Well, just to put it out there, we've got the launch of issue 3 is at the Tate, and we've got a conference all day from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the 25th of November. So if you want to come, that would be fantastic. Yeah,
if I can, that would be really good. Because maybe this invitation was in October, November. I don't know, but if I had that date, I can try to. It would be amazing. But well, anyway, we'll keep in touch. And as I said, thanks very much and congratulations. And also, I hope to participate more in the new journals. As Simon knows, these last 2 years I've been working to finish a book about nothingness. I just published some months ago, so I'm trying to be a free man again. So I would love to collaborate in either way for the next issues.
Well, just to give you a heads up, the issue 4 is on touch. So touch is the theme for the next issue. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Start making work.
Yeah. That's amazing. Great.
Well, what's your book called, Felipe?
La Oficina de la Nada. It's the same name of the group. I will send you the link.
Yeah.
Simon just received it. I sent him.
It's beautiful. It's a lovely production.
Yeah, the cover is by Irma Blanc. Which is an amazing. Let me see. I'm trying to get the link here. Do you read in Spanish, Gill?
No, but I can. Try.
Erica, you know Spanish, I remember, right?
Yes.
There's the link of the book, so you can check it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just clicked on it.
Yeah, and I talk a lot about some projects of information as material. I mean, there's a lot of projects that you might know related to nothingness, and others from Latin America, Spain, etc. It's very mixed up, everything.
Okay.
Well, thanks again very much. I enjoyed very much seeing you again, and hope to meet you again in the real life.
Yeah, thank you all. It was very, very inspiring, as your publication is.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for having us.
See you soon. Thanks.
See you later, guys.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.